Let's go ahead and open the door. Everybody, including myself, let's turn off our phones so that we can focus on the meeting as we are here on Ask God. No, we're on Q&A with Pharmacist Ben Fuchs and Becca. So hello, welcome everybody. So if you're out on YouTube or Facebook or Rumble and you would like to join us live, you may do so by going to benandbeccazoom.com, and is spelled out. So benandbeccazoom.com. This is a monthly program that is held monthly, really consistent monthly, but as far as the date goes, not always the same day. So you want to make sure that you go to criticalhealthnews.com and make sure that you are signed up for our newsletter. Also, if you're watching or if you're even here live with us, make sure that you are following our YouTube channel, Facebook channel, and also Rumble channel. Look for Critical Health News on YouTube and Rumble. And then on Facebook, it's just Critical Health, so that you can stay up to date on all of our programming, that we bring empowering information on things that you can do yourself. My name is Becca Dukes, and as the hostess of this program, I am excited to be able to present to you another amazing hour plus with the one and only Pharmacist Ben Fuchs. Now, this program is being sponsored by Daily with Doc. So if you have never spoken to anybody about longevity, you are not working with a health coach, and nobody referred you to this program, please go to our website, dailywithdoc.com, and there you will find the replays of our programming, which is actually available for everybody because we are a resource. But for those who haven't been referred by anybody, we do have a contact option there where you can send us questions and let us know if you would like to get in contact with a health coach, as I have several on my team that are here waiting to serve you. Also, for those who are not being served and assisted by anybody else, we do have a phone team at 855-949-3377. Again, that's for people that are not working with somebody already. We're a resource for an amazing group of people. So if you were referred by somebody specific, make sure that you get back with them. They took the time and they cared enough to share this program with you because they knew that you would be getting some benefit from it. So we want to make sure that we are holding true to our family values and making sure that our family stays connected with the people that they're referring. So for all of you that are joining us here live on our Zoom, welcome. So excited to have you here with us. And I see some new names and some repeat names, and somebody needs to be muted. Because I don't think that was Ben. His bottle doesn't crunch, especially since it's glass. But Pharmacist, oh, did you have a plastic one today? Oh my goodness. Yeah. So Pharmacist Ben Fuchs, for those of you who do not know, is incredible. He is an amazing teacher that takes something that tends to be complicated and puts it into terms that are easy to digest, which is actually what we're talking about today. Digestion. He's a pharmacist. He focuses and has intense, immense, very elevated knowledge of nutrition and how it works in the body because of his schooling in pharmacy and also going beyond. So he is just a constant learner, but most importantly, folks, he is an amazing teacher that presents information in a way that we can understand. So Pharmacist Ben Fuchs, it is my honor to be able to present to you. And I looked it up. The very first time that I held a program focusing on you was 6 years ago. So
Six.
I'm so excited. 6
Was
years
that at your
ago.
house? That was at your house in California?
No, so that was actually in Arizona.
Oh,
We
Arizona. That's right.
Yeah, we had events on the east side, the west side, and in the
That was,
middle,
that was
all
six
over
years ago. Oh my
ridiculous
gosh.
6 years
Did
ago.
you have a place in California at one time? Did you not have a place
Um,
in
so I have also, my team and I have also hosted you in Sacramento.
Sacramento? That's right. It was at a home in Sacramento, wasn't it?
Oh, 3 different locations, yes.
Yes, I
So we were
remember
at
that.
James House, and then we were at a conference room in Riley's, and then a conference room at the Lighthouse Wellness Center there in Sacramento. So
Good
yeah,
deal. Well,
we've got
I'm glad, I'm honored, and I'm really happy to be part of your team. And you're doing a great job. I hope everybody appreciates what Rebecca does for all of us, between working with Dr. Wallach and doing all of these Zoom calls and helping people understand their health through the health advisor program. Is that what it's called? The health advisor program,
the
or health consultant
Certified
program?
Holistic Health Coach course.
The
Yeah,
course. So I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing you, and I don't know if it's on my end or on your end. So I apologize for that.
the
It's like you're
volume
cutting
down.
out. Yeah, you're cutting out, and it might be my speakers. I'm not sure. I got a whole new computer set up and new camera. So I don't know. So forgive me if I have to ask you to repeat yourself, because you're cutting out a little bit. Anyway,
Okay.
I'm very glad, Rebecca, that you did not do that disclaimer today, because I hate that disclaimer anyway. But today we don't have to do it, because we're not going to talk about any specific diseases. You know, the medical model copyrights brand names diseases. They don't really copyright, but they brand name them. You know, like arthritis is a brand name, so you can't say arthritis. Diabetes is a brand name, so you can't say diabetes. Like Kleenex and tissues, right? Kleenex is the brand name. Kleenex, Kimberly Clark owns Kleenex. You can't say Kleenex. You can say tissue. So we can't say arthritis, but we can say inflammation. We can't say diabetes, but we can say dysglycemia. We can't say Parkinson's disease, but we can say movement disorders. Luckily, with our talk today, we don't have to worry about that, because what we're talking about is about as generic as it comes, and that is the health of the digestive system, specifically the health of the intestine. But we'll talk about the entire digestive system. We hear the term gut a lot, right? I always talk about the gut, but what does the gut really mean? What is the gut? The gut is actually the intestine, literally. The stomach's not the gut. The liver's not the gut. The gallbladder's not the gut. The gut is the intestine. Now, it's been kind of adulterated. The term has been adulterated. So most people, when they say the gut, they mean the entire digestive system. But really, the gut is the intestine. This is very important, because it is the intestine that is the core of digestive issues. Yes, you have stomach issues, and yes, you could have liver and gallbladder issues and pancreatic issues. They all play a role. Even the mouth plays a role when you chew your food. And we'll talk about how this whole thing works here in a second. But the intestine is really the center of everything. If you ever played basketball, you know, I don't know, the ladies probably haven't played basketball, but in high school, when you play basketball, they tell you, watch the center of the body, because the center of the body can't lie. You can head fake, you can fake with your arms, you can fake with your legs, but you can't fake with the center of your body. The center of your body never lies. And that's true in basketball, and it's true in health. There is no such thing as a chronic health challenge that does not involve the gut primarily as the foundation. That's really, really, really important to understand. And I'm not going to leave that as an assertion. I'm going to show you how that happens. But before I do, I want everybody to understand there is no chronic degenerative disease, which is about 80% of our health challenges, or more maybe. There's no chronic health challenge, chronic degenerative disease that does not involve the gut. I'm going to go out on a limb and say always, but at least most of the time, as a foundation, which simplifies everything. If you approach the intestine, and I'll tell you how to do that in a second, almost every single health challenge will begin to resolve itself. Now, depending on how far along you are, it may take a little bit more time, but you'll start to notice results. Why? For a couple of reasons. First of all, and again, we're going to focus here on the intestine for now, although we'll trace the whole digestive system here in a second. The intestine is where nutrients are absorbed. Small intestine and the large intestine are when the nutrients are absorbed. Technically speaking, nothing is in the body until it crosses over from the intestine. When we talk about things in the body, we really mean things in the blood. So when we say this is getting into our body, what we're talking about is into the blood. The digestive system, the digestive tract, it's segregated from the blood. It's a hallway, if you will. And that crossover into the bloodstream occurs at the level of the intestine, small mostly, but to a certain extent, the large intestine also. So number one, the intestine is where, this is for better or worse. Number one, for better, this is where nutrients are absorbed. This is where your vitamins are absorbed. This is where your fats are absorbed. This is where your electrolytes are absorbed. This is where your aminos are absorbed. All the things we talk about in terms of nutrition, how important nutrition is for the body, it all gets into the body through the intestine. So first of all, the intestine is the foundation of everything, because it's where we become we. If you understand that we are we because of what we're eating, it's the intestine that is the jumping off point for the building of the body. And by building the body, I'm not just talking about muscles, I'm talking about everything. Your skin, your eyes, your nose, your blood, your cells, everything is dependent on the crossover from the intestine into the blood. If something goes awry at the level of the intestine, something will go awry at the level of you. That's just common sense. So first of all, nutrients are absorbed at the level of the intestine. That's number one. Second of all, when the intestine is not in integrity, it's not whole, bad guys, I'll tell you what those mean here in a second, bad guys get into the blood. When bad guys get into the blood, the defense department is activated. The defense department is also called the immune system. So when bad guys get into the blood, the immune system in the blood becomes activated. This creates an immune reaction in the blood. Immune reaction means fibers and blood white blood cells and protective mechanisms to protect the blood from the bad guys that have gotten in. That creates sluggishness in the blood, prevents or slows down nutrient delivery because the blood delivers nutrients to the cells. It prevents or slows down oxygen delivery because the blood delivers oxygen to the cells. And it prevents and slows down detoxification because the blood and the lymph, I should say the circulatory system, is the detoxifying system. You've probably heard me talk about dirty blood. Dirty blood is just a kind of, I like the phrase, it's catchy, but really what we're talking about is immune activity inside the blood, toxicity inside the blood, dirty blood. So the second place the intestine plays a role in the development of health, for better or worse, or a healthy body or not healthy body, is via immune reactions that occur in the blood, secondary to toxicity that's entering in through a leaky gut, through a technically called a permeable gut. So you got nutrition absorption, number one, and you've got, that's on the good side, and then you've got the entrance of toxins, food particles, literally, or bacterial toxins, because the intestine houses all these bacteria. So toxins get in the blood, and they initiate immune reactions. Even pieces of bacteria can actually get into the blood. And then the third element is the immune system. The immune system lives in the intestine. What is the immune system? It's the defense department. The defense department is housed largely in the intestine, probably 80% or more is housed in the intestine. There's some immune system in the skin. There's immune system in the lungs, in the eyes, tears. There's the immune system. The defense department is located wherever there's a boundary between the inside and the outside. So the skin classically is a boundary between the inside and the outside. It makes sense. It's a defense department. So what's it defending against? It's defending against the outside world. So three elements here. Number one, nutrient absorption. Number two, leaky gut and the entrance of toxicity into the bloodstream. And number three, activation of the immune system. These are three places that impact health dramatically for better or worse. And there is no chronic degenerative disease that does not involve these three elements, either lack of absorption of nutrients, entrance of toxicity into the blood, or an activated immune system. So bingo, right from the get-go, you have the answer to almost all chronic degenerative diseases and the way to resolve them quickly. And by quickly, I mean begin to resolve them quickly. Sometimes they take longer to resolve than some take longer to resolve than others, but you can begin to resolve them quickly if you understand. This is not an assertion, this is logic. I don't want anybody to think we have this idea that we have to be doctors or we have to study medicine or we're not smart enough or we don't know enough chemistry or biology or we didn't go to college or whatever. This is just logic. You have the body, and then you have the hallway into the body. The hallway into the body is the digestive tract. The body is built up by what crosses over from the digestive tract, from the hallway, if you will. Should be very, very simple. This is not complicated. It's not fancy science, and it's not medicine. You don't need a degree to understand this. The intestine is the core because of malabsorption, because of nutrient absorption. Because of nutrient absorption, because of leaky gut, and because of immune activation. All right, so that simplifies everything right off the bat. Now let's talk about the whole digestive system, because while we're focusing on the intestine, and it's true, the intestine is probably the center of it, it's instructive to know what happens after we eat, after we put a food in our mouth, where it goes, what it does. I remember I watched this show on the Discovery Channel, by the way, and it was a scientist who invented a mechanical digestive system. It was a big machine, and this machine, you put something on the top of the machine, like food in the top of the machine, and the machine whirred and did all this stuff, and gears turn and wheels turn, and liquids were secreted, and a little piece of poop came out the other end of the machine. It was just like a digestive tract. It was the most amazing thing. But what was so amazing about this thing is it was as big as a room. It took an entire room in order to create this digestive system, this mechanical digestive system. But through pure divinity, I don't know what else to say, this system is compressed into a living organism that is about 22 feet long. The digestive process begins not where you think it does. Rebecca, where does the digestive process begin?
Is it in your mouth?
No, that's what everybody would say. So I'm picking on you a little bit. It is. Everybody here on this call thinks it begins in the mouth, I'm sure, but it doesn't begin in the mouth. It begins in your head. If you think right now of a lemon, what's going to happen? Close your eyes and think of a lemon. What do you think is going to start to happen? You're going to salivate. You're going to salivate. Saliva will start to be secreted. This is very important because we have a lot of control over the digestive process by what we think, which is why you want to pay attention while you're eating. You want to actually think about one of the worst things you could do is eat while you're driving, or eat in a meeting, or eat when you're, in a social setting, or even when you're in an argument is the worst. So the digestive process begins in your head. That's where the digestive juices begin to be secreted just thinking about food. So paying attention to food. Then it's on to the mouth. In the mouth, several things happen. First of all, you chew. And as you're chewing, you're breaking up the food and you're making it easier for the food to be digested downstream. So mom was right, 50 times, 60 times chewing. The more you chew, the easier it's going to be on your digestive system. The more you chew, the easier it's going to be on your stomach. The more you chew, the easier it's going to be on the digestive juices, which we'll talk about here in a second, because as you're chewing, saliva is bathing the food in digestive juices and enzymes, specifically beginning the breakdown of the food. So the digestive process begins in your head because juices start to be secreted, but it really begins in earnest in the mouth. And chewing your food becomes very important, especially, by the way, for diabetics, because diabetics can improve the digestion of sugars and reduce the load on the pancreas by activating salivary enzymes that help support pancreatic enzymes. Diabetics have issues with the pancreas. So you can reduce pancreatic load by chewing your food, in addition to reducing the work that the stomach has to do. Then the food goes from the mouth, through the esophagus, into the stomach. And this is the second place where digestion begins. It starts in the mouth, and the second place is in the stomach. The stomach is churning, so it's mechanically breaking up the food, and it's also secreting acid, which further breaks up the food. Acid also improves the absorption downstream of nutrients. I'll tell you what I mean here in a second. But stomach acid is very important for breaking up the food, for improving the absorption of nutrients downstream, and also for activating digestive enzymes. Digestive enzymes, and enzymes in general, are the key to life. And by the way, there's a difference between digestive enzymes and regular enzymes or metabolic enzymes, chemistry enzymes, enzymes that do chemistry, although they can overlap. And that's a whole nother story. And we can talk about enzymes some other time. But what marks life, the difference between a rock and a living entity, is enzymes. Enzymes are the key to life. They carry the life force. Rocks don't have enzymes. Living things have enzymes. So enzymes carry the life force. In the digestive system, enzymes break up foods, and they require acid for their activation. That's going to be very important here in a second, because the number 3 best-selling drug in the world, or in the country, over the counter, is antacids. And most people more people have low stomach acid than hyper. So enzymes require acid. Digestive juices, acidic digestive juices are secreted from the stomach. As we get older, that doesn't happen as well. Some people have issues with bacteria in the stomach that prevent that from happening. This is where really digestion starts to become a problem. In the mouth, it's usually not a problem. Most people can chew. Most people are going to have saliva. But the digestive problems begin in the stomach. Number 1, because of not enough enzymes. Number 2, because not enough acid. So low stomach acid and issues with enzymes. Low stomach acid can cause issues with enzymes or enzyme deficiencies. One of the main places we're supposed to get enzymes that support our stomach enzymes is from food. And what distinguishes processed food and ultra processed food from living food is, guess what? Enzymes. Processed food doesn't have enzymes in it. Ultra processed doesn't have enzymes in it. Most of the food that we eat, 70 to 80% of the foods that we eat are processed or ultra processed, don't have the enzymes. The enzymes in foods are supposed to support the enzymes in your stomach. When you don't get enzymes from food, you can actually run out of enzymes in your stomach. And there was a guy named Edward Howell. Is my camera getting all weird here? I don't know what's going on there.
No, it's not too bad.
Can you see me okay?
Yeah, you look like a hologram. It's pretty cool, actually.
They're pretty cool. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on with my camera. I got a new camera. Anyway, so there was a guy named Edward Howell. Edward Howell. He was a professor of biochemistry. I believe he was a professor. He's a biochemist. And he wrote a book called Enzyme Nutrition. He said that when we run out of enzymes in our stomach, our body will shift over metabolic enzymes into digestive enzymes, and your metabolism will suffer as your body tries to replace the digestive enzymes. And he said one of the best things you could do to live a long life and prevent long-term disease is to eat enzyme-rich food to spare your metabolic enzymes, your chemistry enzymes. It's a wonderful theory. It's called Enzyme Nutrition, if anybody wants to read that book. Anyway, then it's on to the intestine. And something very important happens at the level of the intestine, right where the stomach meets the intestine. Right where the stomach meets the intestine, the food, which is now, by the way, called chyme, it's a soupy mass in the stomach, that chyme goes into the intestine. Remember I said how the food has to be acid. And so I told you why that's important. Well, as the chyme enters into the intestine, the acid triggers the gallbladder to shoot a big jolt of bile in the food, the chyme. If the chyme is not acidic, that will not happen effectively. Now, I'll tell you, you'll see why this is important here in a second. Okay, so acid is important. I was talking about breaking down food, but it's also important downstream, because as the chyme enters into the stomach, the acid triggers the bile, or triggers the gallbladder to shoot bile into the chyme. Remember, the chyme is acid, right? The bile is alkaline. Bile's very alkaline. So what happens is when the alkaline bile hits the acid chyme, what do you think happens? Do you ever see what happens when you take lemon juice and put it in baking soda? You get a fizzing reaction. In fact, if you have a pan and you cook a roast beef in it, and it's got a bunch of grease, fatty stuff on the bottom of the pan, and you don't know how the heck you're going to clean this grease off, here's a little trick for you. You put baking soda, which is alkaline, on the grease, and then you hit it with lemon juice or apple cider vinegar, something acidic. and you'll get a fizzing reaction that will release the grease from the pan. It's a great way to clean your pans. Well, guess what? That same thing happens when the alkaline bile hits the acid chyme. The fats become liberated. Fats are very sticky. If you have if you have peanut butter and jelly on a knife and you put the knife under water, the jelly will rinse right off. The peanut butter won't, because peanut butter is sticky. Oils and fats have a sticky quality. And if without that acid-base reaction where the alkaline bile hits the acid chyme, the fats are not going to be released from the foods. The fats include vitamin A. So if this doesn't happen, you're going to be deficient in vitamin A. The fats include vitamin D, likewise vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K, omega-6 fats, omega-3 fats, omega-9 fats, DHA and EPA from fish. You see where we're going here. All the phytonutrients, the pigments and phytosterols, nutrients that are in vegetables and grains will not get released from the chyme. If the chyme is not acidic, or if the bile is missing from the like you had a gallbladder taken out, if you're not getting enough bile. Now, I'll talk about this here in a second, but before, let me just say one more thing. The bile, the blast of bile from the gallbladder is assisted by a blast of enzymes from the pancreas. So the pancreas is also involved in the release and the breakdown of food from the chyme. So you got multiple places where things can get messed up here now, right? And we haven't even gotten to the core of it. You can be messed up at the level of the stomach by not making enough stomach acid. You could be messed up at the level of the stomach by not having enough enzymes. You could be messed up at the level of the intestine, the junction, the stomach intestinal junction, by not having a gallbladder, or by having a pancreatic issue, pancreatic insufficiency, or by having a gallbladder that is clogged up with sticky, sludgy bile. So you have multiple places where things that can go awry here. Then it's on to the intestine itself, and this is where everything really, this is the heart of it all. No pun intended, it's the center of it all. The intestine is where the nutrients are going to get absorbed, mostly in the large intestine, small intestine, some in the small, some in the large. The intestine also contains trillions. I know that's a number that it's hard to even comprehend, so we tend to gloss over it, but we really shouldn't, because it's such an amazingly huge number of bacteria. More bacteria in our intestine than there are cells in your body, and it would not be out of line to suggest that we're just a carrying case for bacteria. We're just the way bacteria get around. It would not be, too facetious to suggest that, because there's more of them than there are of us. These bacteria do all kinds of things in the intestine. They process our food. They make vitamins. They detoxify poisons. They communicate to the intestine. They tell the intestine what's going on, whether the intestine should make more cells, or the genes should go up or the genes should go down. They control the genes of the cells of the intestine. They activate the immune system. They do all kinds of things. Now you have more places where things can go wrong. Number one, if you have any defects or any damage to the intestinal lining from eating the wrong food, i.e. gluten or foods like gluten, you have inflammation at the level of the intestine, you're not going to absorb your nutrients. You're going to become malnourished. You're going to be deficient in key nutrients that keep your cells going. Number two, if you have any defects at the level of the intestine, bacteria can start to leak through. Number three, bacteria, if the bacteria are incorrect, you have the wrong kinds of bacteria at the level of the intestine, the bacteria aren't going to be able to perform their function, and they could be pathogenic. They could cause disease themselves. So you have the wrong kind of bacteria, you could have not enough bacteria, you could have damage at the intestinal, at the level of the intestine that allows the toxins to get through, bacterial toxins, food toxins to get through, and you can have malabsorption of nutrients. Between all of these things happening, which almost everybody has a small degree of, because when we're born, the digestive system is supposed to grow and proliferate. Breast milk and secretions from the mother's birth canal are supposed to start the process going of intestinal health. Many people, and especially people who are over 50, and 60 and 70, are dealing with problems from birth because they weren't breastfed long enough, because in the 50s and the 60s, people didn't really respect breastfeeding as much as they should in the 40s, or they were born cesarean. Even today, people born cesarean are not going to get that bacterial bath. So all kinds of people, probably more people than not, maybe even most people, are dealing with issues either at the level of the stomach, the level of the intestine, the level of the gallbladder, the level of the pancreas. So is it any wonder that we would have these kinds of health issues if we understand that the intestine is responsible for feeding the entire body, and it's the intestine that's responsible for poisoning the entire body? Of course we're going to have issues. It cannot not happen. Now, I want to just say this because this is a little bit of a digression, but it's very, very important. There are probably 100 million people in this country, not that many, probably 30 million people in this country, 30 or 40 million people in this country who have something called an autoimmune disease. Multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis, scleroderma, systemic lupus. There's probably 80 to 100 different autoimmune diseases. We've all heard the term autoimmune diseases. If you go to the doctor, he will tell you we have no idea what causes autoimmune diseases, because doctors are not biochemists. So if you want to be healthy, go to a biochemist. And I'm not saying that to be mean to doctors. I have a lot of friends who are doctors. They're good people. I don't want to get into ripping on doctors because I like doctors. I just don't like the model, the paradigm. The paradigm, the model doesn't serve us. Doctors are good people, and we don't want to confuse the model with the doctors. There's some jerk doctors, of course. There's jerk pharmacists. There's jerk everybody. But as a whole, it's not about the doctors. It's about the model. It's about the paradigm. The paradigm, the model says there's no cause. There's no known cause. It's unknown. It's a mystery. Well, I'm going to tell you something now that you don't have to be a doctor to understand, that will make you smarter than the medical model, than the people who say they don't know have a cause, because it's just logic. The body is eminently logical. You know, we get all into, I remember one time I went to the medical library at the University of Colorado. These days, you just go on the computer. Back in the day, you'd have to go to the medical library. You'd have to, pull out books and put on the card and, Xerox things. And it was a big nightmare to go to the medical library. So when I go to the medical library, I would always be so amazed by all the things we knew about the chemical reactions and the molecules and the genetics and all the different genes and all the different, the minutia of the body, but everybody was still sick because we understand the minutia, but we don't see the big picture. We don't understand how the whole thing is put together. I'm going to tell you the big picture right now. When you have things getting into the bloodstream through what's called a leaky gut, intestinal permeability syndrome, etc., you initiate immune reactions in the blood. We talked about that. When you initiate immune reactions in the blood, you have these globs of pus floating around in your blood. I'm being a little dramatic here. It's not literally pus, but it's made up of the same material. It might even be literally pus. I've never seen it, but it's made up of the same material. This material, these immune complexes that circulate through the blood, are called literally circulating immune complexes, CICs. And these CICs are the way the body's protecting the blood, protecting itself, the system, from these toxins. Remember, the digestive tract is not part of the body. Once it's in the blood, then you get a red alert. That's when you get DEFCON 3 or whatever they call it, DEFCON 5, danger, Will Robinson, danger, danger, danger. Remember that, Rebecca? Danger, Will Robinson. So that's when it happens in the blood. So the blood will surround the toxins with immune cells to protect things. It's protective, and these circulating immune complexes will float around the blood. And you'd have them measured, actually. If you have an autoimmune disease, they'll check your circulating immune complexes. Well, the body has a very interesting process that it's developed or evolved to clean the blood of the circulating immune complexes. You probably heard me talk about this. I always think of when I was a kid and I had to clean my room. I had a really quick way to clean my room. My room was a mess, but my mom would say, clean your room, and I'd have it clean in 5 minutes flat, no matter how messy it was. You know what I did? I shoved everything under the bed. and it worked like a charm. I just shoved it under the bed. Well, the body does the same thing with these circulating immune complexes. The body will take these circulating immune complexes and it will shove them under the bed, which is to the body the soft tissue and the connective tissue. And then you have soft tissue and connective tissue that has immune complexes and has inflammation following the immune complexes and has distortions in its cellular nature, distortions that are caused by these depositions of immune complexes and inflammatory factors. These distortions in the pancreas or in the thyroid or in the nerve cells or wherever you have your autoimmune, in the skin, wherever you have your autoimmune problems, initiate an attack because the body now sees these distortions as an enemy. Is it making sense, you guys? You following here? This is how autoimmune disease develops. People say, oh, the immune system's just, it's crazy. It just makes a mistake. It's just, no, it's not making a mistake. It's not stupid. The immune system is incredibly intelligent and responsive. It's not making a mistake. It's attacking what it perceives as being a foreign cell based on the distortions. Not to mention the fact that food itself, food particles itself themselves will initiate immune activity because the amino acids, the peptides in food look like your liver, or they look like your thyroid, or they look like your kidney, or they look like you. There's no difference between a hamburger and you from an amino acid perspective. It's made up of the same stuff. So the immune system is attacking the food particles and attacking the immune complexes and attacking the soft tissue where the immune complexes have been deposited. So you say, oh, well, my doctor never told me that. I never heard that. First of all, you can just Google it wherever you want, just look up autoimmunity in the gut. But here's the thing. If you have an autoimmune disease and you stop eating, your symptoms will go away. And you will notice if you have an autoimmune disease that your symptoms flare up when you eat certain foods. And anybody who has an autoimmune disease either knows it or should know it. I say should know because sometimes things go, when they happen all the time, we don't pay attention to them. We don't notice them. So start to notice if you have an autoimmune disease when you flare. And stop eating and notice that your symptoms start to subside. Or they subside if you don't want to stop eating, like fast, which we should all be doing. Notice between meals, if you go a long time, that your symptoms start to get better. Now, this is important for a couple of reasons, for a few reasons. First of all, it's important for us in longevity because we're going to be confronted and dealing with lots of people with autoimmune diseases. So when you tell them this, not only are you going to be doing God's work, you're going to be giving them a little bit of relief for a moment if they can do it for a little bit that they sometimes haven't had for decades, but you'll also be showing them the power of these ideas, the power they have over their bodies. When you have an autoimmune disease and the doctor says, sorry, there's nothing we can do. It's just, can you imagine what this does to your psyche? Anybody out there who has an autoimmune disease, what does this feel like? Oh, sorry, your body's just going haywire and we have no idea. When you tell them this mechanism that requires no scientific understanding, nothing I said requires science to understand. It's just logic. When you tell them this idea, you will empower them psychologically. So you're going to be helping them physiologically, but you're going to help them psychologically so they have some control over their lives. So they have some control over the processes of their body, their disease process and the processes of health. That is so divine. That is so godly to do that for somebody, to give them that sense of empowerment when everybody's telling them there's nothing they can do about it. Okay. And by the way, when you have an autoimmune disease, the best you could do with the doctor is a steroid drug or a newfangled biologic. And I don't know how many of you guys watch TV, but you'll notice that almost every 20 minutes, there's a commercial, every commercial break, there's 2 or 3 commercials for a drug that has a little song that they sing about it. Or they show you that they're climbing up a mountain and they're bungee jumping and they're hiking and COPD's not going to get me, damn it. I'm going to take this drug and I'm going to beat my COPD. Well, what are those drugs? Those drugs are called biologics, and they're the modern version of steroid drugs. Steroid drugs are old school. They still give them because they're very powerful, but they're old school. The new drugs are biologics. These biologics shoot down the messengers of the immune system. The immune system works with chemical messengers. They shoot down these messengers. They're called cytokines. You probably heard the term cytokines. Cytokines are the messengers of the immune system. And cytokines initiate the immune process. Biologics are drugs that shoot down the immune system. And the reason you see them advertised so much on TV is because a month's supply can cost $3,000 to $5,000 for a month's supply of Dupixent and Skyrizi and Ozempic and all these new drugs that you see advertised. And they cost pennies to make, and they sell them for thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a month. Now, we don't see it because the insurance company pays for it. Nobody pays thousands of dollars a month for them. The insurance company pays for them. Well, guess who pays for the insurance companies? We do, all of us, because it's all subsidized. When they talk about $100 trillion I'm sorry, they talk about $1 trillion in healthcare costs, that's being subsidized by the taxpayer. So these $3,000, nobody sees $3,000 to $5,000 a month. Nobody's paying that. We're all paying that. So the cytokine destroyers, these biologic drugs, can be replaced by eliminating the cytokines completely, not shooting them down, but just not producing them. And you don't produce them by not initiating immune reactions at the level of the intestine. I hope you guys are starting to see some power here. Autoimmune diseases should always be regarded as a digestive problem, but that's not a leap, because all chronic diseases should be regarded as a digestive health issue. If you have a skin disease, if you have psoriasis, or if you have eczema, or if you have acne, or you have scleroderma, or you have rosacea, or you have anything that's manifesting on your skin, this is the best news you're going to hear, because the digestive system and the skin are two peas in a pod. And what happens in the digestive system will happen on the skin, and what happens in the skin happens in the digestive system. And a good esthetician or skincare professional will ask you about your bowel movements and ask you about your gas when she's trying to treat your skin. And a good skincare professional will be able to tell you what's happening in your digestive system by looking at your skin. But it's true about everything. Parkinson's disease. Parkinson's, all the stuff I'm talking here is logic, right? But 10 years ago or 5 years ago or even 2 years ago, if you went to your neurologist, Parkinson's disease, he would say, well, we don't know what causes it. But now, guess what's recognized as the cause of Parkinson's disease? The intestine. But you don't need to wait for Google to tell you this. You don't need to wait for the scientific studies to tell you this. You don't need to wait for the National Institute of Health or the World Health Organization to tell you this, because now you understand how this whole thing happens. So what they're telling us, whether it's autoimmune disease or whether it's skin disease or whether it's neurological diseases or Parkinson's disease, whatever, have no known cause. I'm telling you now, the cause is the digestive tract, particularly the intestine, but you got to pay attention to the whole thing. All right, so I want everybody to be empowered. There's so much more to talk about, because we can talk about the gallbladder and the number one reason for gallstones, which is the main reason for 500,000 gallbladders being yanked out of people's bodies, is dirty bile following digestive toxicity. Without a gallbladder, you will be compromised at the level of level of your digestive system for the rest of your life, no matter what you hear from the doctor, because they'll tell you it doesn't matter. You don't need your gallbladder. But if you understand that whole thing I just told you, you know that's BS. If you have diabetes, or you're putting a load on the pancreas through the wrong kinds of foods, you're not going to be making the right enzymes. And let me tell you something. There's few health challenges that are more miserable than pancreatitis. Acute or chronic, it is god awful. And the pancreas is a digestive organ. It makes enzymes, and it's got a lot of, there's a reason why pancreatic cancer is so pathological, so deadly. It's because the pancreas is where all our enzymes are made, or most of our enzymes are made in the pancreas. So the pancreas is critical. The stomach, as we talked about, is critical, but it's really the intestine where you want to focus first and foremost. So let's talk about what you do. Okay, so hopefully you guys understand the importance of it. the digestive tract and you understand its relationship to disease, all of it. There's no chronic disease without it. That should give you a sense of power over your body, or your customer, your client, a sense of power over your body. So what can you do about it? Well, the first thing you want to do, and by the way, I forgot to mention this. There's a lady named Terry Walls. She's an MD. She has multiple sclerosis, and she wrote a book called The Walls Protocol, WAHLS, and it talks about how she cured herself of multiple sclerosis, a hideous autoimmune disease. Guess what she did? She changed the way she ate. Okay, and it's a whole book. You can read up on it. So anyway, so what do? Well, number one, you always want to do a food diary. You will find if you have a health challenge that your health challenge, unless you're like at the point where your body's it's been decades, you will notice that things will spike when you eat certain foods. If you have a skin problem, you'll notice skin issues will spike. If you have pain, inflammatory pain, you'll notice inflammatory pain will spike. If you have neurological movement disorders or cognitive issues, you'll notice that those will get worse. Pay attention to your symptoms and especially your flares, and link your flares to foods with a food diary. And if you're selling longevity, you're distributing longevity, you're helping your client, if you're a health coach, when your patient or your client does a food diary, they become vested in their own health process. And that's what you're looking for. You want them participating in their own health process. The medical model, they want to take responsibility. It's like in the old days, the priest would say, you can do whatever you want. Just come to me, confess, and give me a tenth of your tithe. Today we have doctors. Do whatever you want, eat whatever you want. We got a drug for you. We'll take care of you. Okay? We don't want that. We want people participating in their own health. We don't want to be their authority. We want everybody to be their own health authority. And when they write things down and they notice things, they start to participate in their own health process. The second thing that does for you as a distributor and also for your client is it shows them the relationship between their life and their symptoms. Remember, the doctor's saying there's no known cause for their autoimmunity. It's just happening. This shows them the connection. And it's very empowering to see. All of a sudden, wait a minute, if I stop eating the bread, I'm not going to feel so bad. If I stop eating the beans, my skin's going to clear up. It's a sense of empowerment. So number one, when they do a food diary, they're vested. They're participating. Number two, it shows them that there's a relationship between, there's a cause and effect. It's not no known cause. It's not we don't know. There's a relationship to what they're doing. It's empowering. And then number three, it shows them you know what you're doing. Because nobody's telling them this. Nobody's told them this. They had no clue. The vast majority of people had no clue that the bread that they're eating is connected to the pain they feel in their joint. They have no clue that the burritos are making them break out. They just think they got to be on Accutane. Nobody knows. So all of a sudden you represent yourself as somebody who knows what they're talking about. So you always have your client doing a food diary. That's first and foremost. Once they find the foods that cause problems, it may take 3 or 4 weeks of doing this. Once they find out, you eliminate those foods. That's called the elimination diet. Fasting is a great way to do it if you want to do it quickly. And fasting is not difficult to do physiologically, but it's difficult to do mentally. Because when we're bored, we eat. When we're tired, we eat. When we're depressed, we eat. When we can't sleep, we eat. There's all these places we eat mentally and not physiologically. You will be shocked if you can withstand them. And I know, believe me, I know I fast and I know I had that. I want to get up off the couch and get something to eat, and I don't really need it. So I got to check in with my stomach. So I know exactly what that's like. If you can get past that mental thing, you'll see that you don't really need to eat. You don't feel hungry. It's like you're forcing yourself to eat. So I don't want to be, preachy about fasting, but it's extremely helpful if you can do it. Even fasting between meals, even if you can extend the time between meals or stop eating at like 5 in the evening and start eating at 10 in the morning or something like that. If you can extend the time period between meals. Like I said, food diary, elimination diet, fasting. That alone will go a huge way. And what's really cool is the sicker we are, the faster we notice results. So if you're really, really miserable and you fast and you stop the gluten, you're going to notice results quickly. It may take a while for you to completely be clear of your symptoms, but you'll notice results very quickly the sicker you are. If you're not sick, really, if you're healthy mostly, you're not going to notice results as dramatically. But if you are sick, you're going to notice them much more dramatically, which is great news for us who are trying to help people, because they're going to see, oh my gosh, especially if they're really sick, they're going to be like, holy cow, this is amazing. Remember, most people haven't heard any of this stuff. You guys have heard it. If you heard me, you're probably sick of hearing me because I say the same thing over and over again. But other people out there in the world, they haven't heard any of this stuff. So anyway, then there are things you can use to support the health of the intestine, and Longevity has all kinds of wonderful products. We were going to talk, Rebecca, about the IP6. Remember the IP6 or the I-26? I'm sorry, the I-26. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. So I'm just going to touch on that real quickly because that deserves a whole conversation. I-26 is, I stands for immune globulin Y, which is an antibody, which kills bad bacteria and supports good bacteria. In the intestine, from drinking chlorinated water and fluoridated water and taking antibiotics intentionally, or taking antibiotics in water unintentionally, getting antibiotics in milk, or we do all kinds of things that conspire to kill off our good bacteria. And the balance of good bacteria and bad bacteria can get thrown off. The I-26 is an antibiotic that is made in this, an immune globulin that's made in a very interesting way. An antibody, not antibody. That's made in a very interesting way. They take eggs, or they take chickens, and they inject the chickens with bacteria so the chickens will make antibodies. And then those antibodies come out in the eggs, and then they get them, they powder up the eggs, and they sell them as antibody-rich eggs. And the antibodies in these eggs are specific for killing off the bad bacteria. So for people who are dealing with what's called dysbiosis, messed up gut bacteria, or fancy word here, poisons that get into the blood from bacteria. Endo means inside, toxins, poisons. They're called endotoxins. Endotoxins from bacteria that get into the bloodstream, bacteria themselves that get into the bloodstream. So the I-26 is great for people who have autoimmune problems, any kind of immune problem, dysbiosis, messed up digestive system. I forgot to mention there's a really miserable intestinal health challenge called SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. The I-26 can help with SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And, I didn't tell you about FODMAPs, but we should probably talk about FODMAPs, but we'll have to do that on another Zoom call. Do you know about FODMAPs? Have you talked about FODMAPs with in the health coach program, Rebecca?
I know very little about FOD, and I think that will be our topic for next week.
Yeah, we'll talk about FODMAPs. Yeah, that's good, because that's a big topic, and SIBO, much more than we can just talk about. This is just an overview. Okay, so there's all kinds of great longevity products. I-26 is antibody enhanced eggs for killing off the bad bacteria, supporting the gut. There's also a really cool product that I'm pretty sure Dr. Conaway formulated called the Ultimate Microbiome. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that her product? I think that's her product. And
Yeah,
that's by the way, Dr. Conaway, I know a little bit about the intestine. She's the queen. She blows me away with what she knows about the intestine and about the digestive tract. She's been talking about this forever. Actually wrote a book about it, about the digestive health. So I'm a big fan of Dr. Conaway. You have the book?
I do.
Awesome. Yes. Why? Yes, exactly. That's a great book. So anyway, she formulated the Ultimate Microbiome. The Ultimate Microbiome has nutrients for, obviously, for the it's got microbiome nutrients, but it's also got enzymes in there too. So it's a nice, well-rounded digestive supplement. We talked earlier about enzymes. The Ultimate enzymes, I love the Ultimate enzymes for a couple of reasons. First of all, the enzymes, obviously, they replace your digestive enzymes if you don't have enough enzymes. Plus, they have bile in there. Plus, they have something that supports acid in the stomach. But here's what's really cool about the enzymes. The digestive enzymes, the Ultimate enzymes, are great for pain. They're anti-inflammatory. They're great post-surgery for healing. They're great for arthritis sufferers. and they help clean the blood of those CICs. The inflammatory material in the blood is largely made up of protein, and the enzymes roto-rooter through those proteins, through those clogs. They clean the blood. So you got all these incredible benefits in addition to the fact that they're important for the digestive process. I recommend people take something acidic. There is something acidic in the ultimate enzymes. You'll see HCl on the betaine HCl on the supplement facts. I still suggest people take it with something acidic like noni juice, longevity noni juice, or aloe vera apple cider vinegar. I love apple cider vinegar, actually. So, but something acidic that activates the enzyme. Right? Enzymes require acid for activation. By the way, one more thing I should tell you: in the stomach, there is a protein, a peptide that is secreted that is important for the absorption of vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is your energy vitamin. Many people are dealing with health issues that affect the secretion or the production of this peptide. It's called IF, or intrinsic factor. And a lot of people aren't making intrinsic factor and they're deficient in B12. Also, if you don't have enough acid in the stomach, you're not going to be able to absorb your B12 or your minerals for that matter. So acidifying the stomach contents is important, not only for activating the enzymes, but also for the absorption of nutrients. You'll get some acid in the enzymes, but I still recommend extra acid, whether it's noni juice or apple cider vinegar or whatever, something acidic. Dr. Ariaza has a great product called the Liver and Gallbladder Cleanse. The liver's not exactly part of the digestive system because things don't get into the liver until after they've crossed over, but the gallbladder definitely is. And when the gallbladder is not working as it should, when the liver's not working as it should, you're not making enough bile for the gallbladder. So keeping the liver healthy, it doesn't directly involve digestion, but it's still important for the digestive process. And Dr. Ariaza has a great video and by the way, Dr. Ariaza is amazing. If you haven't heard that guy talk, not just about nutrition, but just about inspiration and about health. I'm sorry, about financial health. He's great about health too, but about inspiration and about how to move the business. That guy is on fire and he's brilliant. So anytime you can listen to Dr. Ariaza, you should. But he has a product called the Liver and Gallbladder Cleanse. He has a video. He has a YouTube video where he talks about how to use it. And I highly recommend you watch the video if you have a gallbladder issue or a liver issue, or even if you just want to keep your digestive system healthy. Put this on the list. We should talk about bile next time too. When we talk about but we're going to talk about, I forgot what we're going to talk about. We said, SIBO. Yeah. Okay. And then, for the longest time, I was taught this was like this was the main product from longevity for the digestive system. But now it's the last thing I talk about because we have so many other wonderful products, and that's the Nightly Essence, which is the best probiotic supplement that I know of. The Nightly Essence there you go. The Nightly Essence got multiple sources of bacteria, plus it has digestive enzymes in there, and plus it has a really cool enzyme in there that's not exactly a digestive enzyme, but it's great for the blood, called nattokinase. And I am a huge, huge fan of the ultimate enzymes. And if ever since I started, the Nightly Essence and also the ultimate enzyme. But if you go back talks that I've done like 20 years ago, I was talking about the Nightly Essence. Even that was the first really big product that I was talking, a digestive product that I talked about. I'm sorry, Rebecca, go ahead.
Well, I have a question because it also has rutin in it. What does rutin do?
Rutin's a fiber. And that's another thing we should talk about. Actually, I'll talk about it now real quickly. There are, and it's important because you're going to hear these terms, and it'll help you in your with your own personal health, but also in your business. Prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics, right? So we've talked about probiotics. Probiotics is the original name that we give the bacteria inside the gut, the microbiome, the bacteria. Probiotics are, that's kind of a generic term. That's the term they give to supplemental bacteria. They call them probiotics. But now you're going to start to hear prebiotics. A prebiotic is something that feeds the bacteria, that feeds the probiotics. Probiotics, bacteria love fiber. They love it. We can't digest fiber. Fiber is indigestible for the most part. There's a few exceptions. But bacteria can. And not only do bacteria feed and thrive and proliferate on fiber, i.e. prebiotics like rutin or inulin or FOS. FOS is not quite a fiber, it's a sugar, but similar. Not only do these probiotics and microbiome feed on the prebiotics, not only do they proliferate because you're feeding them, but they secrete chemicals that are especially important for the health of the intestine, chemicals that are especially important for the health of the brain, chemicals that are especially important for the health of the immune system, chemicals that are especially important for muscle building and for growth and repair. These chemicals that are secreted are called postbiotics. So prebiotics feed the probiotics, which then produce postbiotics. Rutin, to answer your question, rutin is a prebiotic. Make sense? And by the way, I'm pretty sure, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure the Ultimate Microbiome has prebiotics in it, has fiber in it. And yeah, it does. And sometimes you'll see FOS in some of these supplements, fructooligosaccharides, FOS. That's a food source for bacteria. It's not exactly fiber, it's a sugar. It's a food source for bacteria. Okay, so the nightly essence is that's the last one. So you got your digestive enzymes, you've got your ultimate enzymes, I'm sorry, you've got your ultimate microbiome, you got your I-26, your liver and gallbladder cleanse. What am I missing here? Oh, I didn't tell you about Digest-FX. That's another cool one, the Digest-FX. That one's got a liver supplement, it's got an intestinal supplement, it's got a microbiome supplement. Or it's got enzymes, a microbiome supplement, and a liver supplement. And it comes in little packets that you can take once a day, 30 little packets in a box. So it's very handy because you got a full spectrum for people who don't want to carry a bunch of bottles with them. You get a full spectrum of nutrients, of digestive support in a packet. You can carry the packet around with you. I still recommend you take everything personally. And by the way, all of this is secondary to the Healthy Start Pack. The Healthy Start Pack is first. Everything is built around the Healthy Start Pack. And one of the cool things about the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, and the last thing I'll say, and then we'll take some questions, is it bypasses digestive health issues because it's liquid. So you don't have to worry about no enzymes in the stomach. You don't have to worry about stomach acid. You don't have to worry about malabsorption at the level of the intestine. You don't have to worry about a gallbladder issue because it's all pre-digested, essentially. It's in solution. So it goes right into the intestine. Now, the bad news about that is sometimes people their intestine is not able to absorb that much nutrition, and all those nutrients go through the intestine, and because they absorb water, as you can see when you put them in a glass of water, they absorb water. All that water that they absorb in the intestine goes through your large intestine, and you end up with bloating and intestinal discomfort, sometimes diarrhea. All of this is following malabsorption of the nutrients, which then subsequently pull water out through the large intestine and result in water disturbances in the large intestine, which can be uncomfortable and also can cause diarrhea. So the good news is the Beyond Tangy Tangerine is quickly absorbed. The bad news is that if you have a problem absorbing it, it's going to go through and cause problems. So if you hear your customer say, oh, I tried the Beyond Tangy Tangerine, but it made me bloat, it made me have discomfort or diarrhea or gas or something along those lines, not gas, but just discomfort, you tell them to back off, use a smaller dose. And I don't want to, step on any toes here, but personally, I could never do 2 scoops of Beyond Tangy Tangerine all at once. I don't know how that got put on there on the instructions, but there's a lot of people who don't use Beyond Tangy Tangerine because they think they got to do 2 scoops. That's crazy. I do a small amount and I sip on it and I do a little more and I do a little more and I do a little more. I think that's the best way to do it, or at least just maybe half a scoop at one time. But 2 scoops is it's too much for me. So if your customer says I can't do, some people can, by the way. Some people can do 2 scoops. But if your customer says I can't, it made me bloat, it made me uncomfortable, it gave me diarrhea, back them off. And you do start to develop enzymes and biochemistry over time that will help you absorb more and more. So it's easier to tolerate over time. But when you first start, if they complain, have them back off. But that's not a reason for them to stop using it, in my opinion. It's such a power-packed nutritional supplement. Okay, so that's our little digestive chat. I guess it's a little longer than I thought it would be. Do we have questions? Anybody want to talk?
We do have some questions, and that was absolutely fantastic. So can we take too much when it comes to digestive aids and supplements and
No,
nutrient take
no, no. There's no.
digestive?
You can take. There's a couple minerals that you can theoretically take too much, but you'd have to really, really take too much of them. But other than that, there's not. You don't have to worry about overdosing with any of the stuff. Maybe taking too much all at once, like I say, the Beyond Tangy Tangerine might cause some discomfort, but it's not like you're poisoning yourself by taking any of these things.
Okay. So I love Digest-FX. When I overeat and I'm like feeling ugh, Digest-FX is my hero. So that's just something that I keep with me at all times, especially when I'm out. But I love the Daily Digest, as you mentioned, those little packets. I take one of those at bedtime every night. And the microbiome is amazing. That's why I asked, can we take too much?
Oh, no, don't worry about it. I mean, you may not need it. Your body might not need it, but you're not going to poison yourself or anything like that.
Okay. And then here's a question that came up in the health coach chat the other day. Somebody was wanting to know if you need to stay away from enzymes if you're pregnant.
No, absolutely not. You need more of them. You're talking about digestive enzymes, I assume, right?
Digestive enzymes, yeah.
You're eating for two. You're nutriating for two. You need more. No, absolutely not.
Okay. And then the next question that we have here is, how do we clean or reset the organs?
Fasting. Fasting that's what fasting does, is it resets everything. It's hitting a reset button, and it also is a self-cleaning mechanism. It's like when you know how you clean your dishwasher, your self-cleaning dishwasher, you turn it on without any dishes in it, right? And it cleans itself. That's how the body works. There's no food in it. All the digestive juices and all the digestive chemistry is rerouted into detoxification. And you upregulate detoxification in something called autophagy, which is basically like a cleaning out of cells when you fast. Fasting is the key to resetting the body, and also cleaning it out, detoxifying it. And by the way, sleep is also a great place to reset too. Making sure you're getting enough sleep, especially neurologically.
That's good to know. So, and then you had mentioned chewing the food, especially those that have blood sugar issues, making sure that you completely chew your food is, I remember a time where mom told me, chew every mouth of food 30 times before even thinking about swallowing.
That's right. That's exactly right. You know, it's funny because fast food manufacturers, McDonald's and Boston Chicken and, Arby's and all these places, they study how to make food require less chewing. They call it throat slip. It's technically what it's called, throat slip. And they look for food that have throat slip, and they'll inject the chicken with softeners so the chicken has more throat slip. Or they'll add it to the beef patties so the beef patties have more throat slip. Or they'll make the bun really mushy so the bun has more throat slip, because we eat more food the less we chew it. The less we chew, the more we eat. The fastest way to eat less food is to have to chew it. So fast food manufacturers wanting you eat. So that's why we eat the food really fast. It's got softeners in it that make it so you don't have to chew your food. The more you chew your food, the more you have to chew your food, the less you're going to eat. It's a great diet strategy. And the more nutritional value you get out of it, and the lighter the load will be on the digestive system. You pre-digest before it hits the stomach. You're pre-digesting.
Okay. And we have a question out on YouTube, and Lee wants to know your thoughts on NMN or other forms of B3.
B3 is one of the most important vitamins. I hate to say which is the most important, because they're all important, and you'll have deficiency diseases when you're missing any of them. There's no more important, but B3 is so important that the body will actually make it when you're deficient in it. And that's not true about any other vitamin. There's no other vitamin that the body will actually make with the exception perhaps of vitamin D, which is like a hormone, depending on how you look at it. But the body will make, within biochemistry, skin cells can make vitamin D, but it's a little bit different because that's not exactly vitamin. Vitamin B3 is so important that the body will make it under deficiency conditions. Deficiencies in vitamin B3 will cause crappy skin. Deficiencies in vitamin B3 will cause memory problems and cognitive issues. And one has to wonder how much of what's called Alzheimer's disease or dementias or nursing home patients who are starting to have memory issues or starting to have cognitive issues is really niacin deficiency, or vitamin B3 is niacin. Niacin deficiency will cause terrible GI problems, digestive problems. And if you get niacin deficiency long enough, you'll die. So B3 is incredibly, incredibly important. A guy named Dr. Abram Hoffer, who's considered the father of what's called orthomolecular medicine, which is nutritional supplementation medicine. Have you talked about Abram Hoffer, Rebecca? It sounds like you know who he is.
We haven't talked about him.
Abram Hoffer used to use niacin to treat schizophrenia. Niacin's been used to treat social anxiety disorder. Niacin has been used to treat psychosis and mental health issues. And it all makes sense when you think about niacin being important for the brain. Nicotine is very similar. There's some similarities between nicotine and niacin. Sometimes it's thought that people, when they're niacin deficient, will smoke a lot of cigarettes. Schizophrenics are notoriously deficient in niacin and also big time smokers. Anyway, niacin is ridiculously important. Lately, and one of the reasons it's important, it plays a major role in cell energy. It's all about the cell, right? There's nothing that goes wrong in the body that doesn't go wrong at the level of the cell. We talk about organs, but it's really the cell. And niacin, vitamin B3, plays a very, 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 very important role in how cells make energy, how they turn food into energy. And niacin has to be converted into breakdown products, derivatives, in order to have its energy carrying capacity. So lately, they started selling some of these breakdown products of niacin, and they sell them for a lot of money. And one of them is called NAD, and there's another NMN, and these are all derivatives. And what they are is they're breakdown products of vitamin B3 that the cells use to transport energy. It's really amazing how this happens. I hate to gloss over it because it's so freaking amazing, but it is a little heady. But basically speaking, food gets turned into energy by virtue of these molecules that are derivatives of niacin. So anything that requires energy is going to depend on niacin or these derivatives. So lately they started selling the derivatives, but they sell them for so much money and you get such tiny little amounts of it. You might as well just take niacin, vitamin B3, and let the body make its own NMN and let the body make its own NAD. If you really want to go all out and have injections of NAD, and they do have them, it's not going to hurt you, but it's really, to me, it's scammery. It's not very nice. Niacin, just get yourself on vitamin B3, niacin or niacinamide, no flesh niacin.
And we have the Niacin Plus, Ultimate Niacin Plus, which is just that.
It's time. I think, yeah, and that's a big dose of niacin. Niacin's a great antihypertensive too, because it opens up the blood vessels.
And it has nattokinase in it.
And it has nattokinase for the blood. Absolutely.
Yep. Awesome. So we want to know, where did that question go? Is coffee bad for the digestive tract?
No, caffeine will probably, there's a couple things that happen. First of all, caffeine may actually increase digestive juices, but caffeine has a slowing down effect on the digestive process. So I don't know necessarily if caffeine would be great after a meal. It's kind of a mixed bag on caffeine, but I wouldn't do caffeine. Caffeine's like amphetamine. It's like speed. It shuts down the digestive system, although it will start, from what I understand, it does secrete some helps secretion of some digestive juices, but it's probably not a good idea to do caffeine with your meals.
And then how about creamer? Yes or no? And is dairy or non-dairy better?
I'm sorry, you cut out there. Say that again.
Creamer in your coffee? Yes or no?
Creamer, artificial creamer. I'm sorry, I apologize, Rebecca. I'm not hearing you. Artificial creamer?
They just said creamer. And then they want to know if non-dairy.
I'm not hearing you. I can't hear you. Okay. I think it's me. I think it might be me.
I hear you great though.
Is it me?
I don't know. Can I get a nod up and down? David or Dr. Judy, can you hear me?
Okay, it's
They
probably me. Okay, I take responsibility. So say it again. I heard non-dairy creamer.
Yes. Is it
Okay.
better than dairy?
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Don't even go near that. That's not even good for your, that's not good for anything. Nothing. That is awful. Fats are very, very fragile. And when you start to manipulate fats, it's very easy to produce toxic compounds. Most toxins are fats, distorted fats, or some kind of fat, because remember I told you how sticky fats are. Watery stuff goes through. The fats stick. So distorted fats are the worst kinds of foods you could eat, especially, by the way, for the intestine. Distorted fats, particularly deep fried fats, are a great way to guarantee leaky gut. So while gluten gets all the press, there's no food, with the exception of maybe gluten, that is more inflammatory to the intestine and intestinal cells and a cause of leaky gut than deep fried French fries and potato chips and deep fried anything. So that's a big problem, distorted fats. So anytime a fat is distorted artificially in processing, you don't want to go near it. So now dairy has got some problems too, but it's not in the same league as a distorted fat, like a fake margarine or now they have spreads, they call them, and all those kinds of things, and cream, non-dairy creamers. There's nothing redeeming about those kinds of foods, and they're definitely problems. Now dairy you got to be a little bit careful of, although the way it was intended, dairy is loaded with nutrition. It's not cow dairy. There's some problems associated with cow dairy. You get raw cow's milk, you get raw milk. That's pretty darn good for you. Colostrum, I love colostrum. I don't know if you've heard of that. That's the first milk. That's a great supplement, colostrum. But yeah, dairy. If your choice is non-dairy cream or dairy, I assume dairy is cream, right? Is that what you mean? Oh yeah,
Yes.
go with the cream. Go with the cream for sure. Absolutely. And butter, by the way, is a powerful food. Butter. Remember, I didn't actually say this, but I talked about how there's postbiotics that help you with your brain, muscle building, talk to the intestine. Well, butter is a natural source of that postbiotic. The word butter comes from the term butyric acid. Butyric acid is a fatty acid that is made from the bacteria when they eat the fiber. That's the postbiotic. So bacteria eat the fiber, they secrete butter, not really, butyric acid, which is the main fatty acid in butter, which is very, very good for you. Not to mention, butter is a great source of iodine and selenium. And if it's grass-fed butter, it's got omega fats in it. It's omega-3 fats in it. It's amazing stuff, butter. Go butter and go cream, not non-dairy.
I agree. I love butter.
I know. And plus it's like a gift from God, butter. Oh my God. There's a reason why we love butter so much, is because it's so good for you. Butter, by the way, butter has a complex. Those dairy foods that they tell us not to eat, like the butter and the organ meats and the milk, they're rich in something I call the cholesterol complex. The cholesterol complex is made up of fatty vitamins, vitamin A and vitamin K and vitamin D, lecithin, phospholipids, which are important for your nerve cells and for your skin, and cholesterol, which we all know how important that is. And this cholesterol complex is only found in animal foods. And the cholesterol complex in animal foods is specifically designed to grow things, to heal, to promote the health of the nervous system. This cholesterol complex is what distinguishes animals from plants. What is it that distinguishes animals from plants? Movement, neurology, cognition. Now, today we know that plants actually do think and plants actually move, but they don't do it like animals. And this cholesterol complex is the distinguishing feature. It's what gives us our animal nature, our neurological nature, our cognitive nature, our ambulatory nature, our muscle nature. So eating the cholesterol complex from dairy and from organ meats and from cheese and from basically it's basically dairy and organ meats are the best sources. I'm trying to think of what else would have this cholesterol complex in it. I'm sure I'm missing something, but basically it's organ meats and dairy that have it. And that's really where that's where thriving comes from. Animal thriving comes from. So don't let them replace these. Oh, eggs. Also, I forgot about eggs. Eggs are also a source of the cholesterol complex. So this cholesterol complex is very important for building things and for growing and for being a human, as opposed to a fern plant.
Do avocados fall in there also?
No,
Okay.
no plants. Avocados are still good though.
They are.
I'm a fan of avocados, but they don't have anywhere near the nutritional value as an egg.
No, definitely not. So here's a quick question. Going back to niacin, and the question is, should we supplement with niacin more than what's in the 90? And they
I would take the ultimate niacin. Absolutely. Take one ultimate niacin a day. Absolutely.
All right.
Especially
Excellent.
Cardiovascular problems. Niacin is very important for the cardiovascular system.
Okay,
Go ahead.
so heart issues, add niacin. Just as
Absolutely.
something.
High blood pressure, heart issues. Absolutely. Niacin is part of something called the GTF. The GTF is the glucose tolerance factor. And the GTF is a major player in supporting the work of sugar metabolism. So niacin is very important for anything that involves sugar, which is the circulatory system, which involves sugar, and diabetes and circulatory problems go hand in hand, for diabetics, and for fat metabolism. In fact, niacin is actually used topically. I don't know if you remember this. This is kind of interesting. Back in the 90s, there was something that came out called thigh cream. Do you remember this, Rebecca? Do you remember thigh cream? And I was making remember thigh cream came out? How many of you guys remember thigh cream? There's this thing, thigh cream. Well, niacin is one of the ingredients. They used another ingredient. They used a drug actually for thigh cream, but we used to put niacin in our thigh cream because niacin is involved in fat metabolism, helping the body process fats. So niacin is a major player in a lot of different things, but sugar metabolism and anything with sugar metabolism or obesity or fats or fat deposition, niacin can help with that, all of that.
All right. We have a couple hands up, and the first one is a message that is for you, Pharmacist Ben.
Yes. Okay.
So, David, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, Ben.
There.
We've never spoken, but you've had a tremendous impact on my life, my wife's life, and even my daughter's life. I heard you speak about 7 months ago on a show called Mysterious Radio.
Okay.
When I was at probably the worst point in my life ever, with multiple health challenges. And I found longevity through you.
Nice.
Just completely turned my life around. And
don't you love that?
I wanted to thank you so much personally.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. That means so much to me. That's why we do this. What you just said is what keeps us going. It's why we do this. I'm sure everybody who who's part of this can understand what I'm saying. So thank you so much. And all I would tell you, David, is pay it forward. Share it with other people.
I'm studying to be a health coach. And,
right on. Right on.
I look forward to helping as many people as I can.
Thank you. That means that I'm so glad you said that. That really means a lot to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. God bless.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you, David.
That's why we do this, Rebecca.
That's exactly why we do this, Pharmacist Ben. Exactly. I know I've been honored to be able to be one of the people that's working with David, and he's like, do you think I might be able to? I'm like, might? Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now we have Dr. Judy. Dr. Judy, go ahead and
Dr. Judy. What's up, Dr. Judy?
Hi, Ben. When you were mentioning Andrew Hoffer, it just brings to mind, have you seen that vitamin movie? I just love that movie.
I have. I know what you're talking about. I haven't seen it. Yep. No, I haven't. Should I watch it?
I just thought that it might be a fun one for people to watch. It emphasizes high dose vitamin C. There's a nutritionist, Andrew Saul, S-A-U-L.
Oh yeah, I know Andrew Saul.
Yep. He's with orthomolecular medicine and all that. But that movie talks all about him and his vitamin C and all the vitamins he takes. And
does
then
he talk about niacin? Dr. Judy, does he talk about niacin?
Yes. And in that movie, they talk about niacin for depression, for people in jail. I mean, and then there's a whole series that goes with that called Live Longer, Feel Better. And it's like a 10 video series or something, which I have. I love them. You know, I think they're fun ones for people to watch if you can find them. That vitamin movie that you used to be able to get the first half of it free out on the internet, and then you have to pay like $20 or something to buy the whole movie. But I mean, that's just it's for people.
I'm gonna watch it. I've heard of it. Thank you. I appreciate that, Dr. Judy.
You're welcome. Yeah, sure.
All right, and then we have a couple more questions, Ben. Let me get this all straightened out here. So, of course, we mentioned a stick of butter a day keeps the doctor away.
I didn't say a stick of butter a day. Who said that?
No, Dr. Wallach says.
Dr. Wallach. Dr. Wallach, sometimes he teases people. He's just teasing. I don't think he does a stick of butter. He says he eats 12 eggs a day. I think he's teasing. Does he eat 12? You're with him. Does he eat 12 eggs a day?
Oh, I know he does at least 6.
6. Okay, 6. Okay,
And
I can see 6.
26.
Okay,
So,
all right.
Takes a full dose of
I think he teases us a little bit.
So yeah, I couldn't eat 12 eggs.
That's a lot of eggs. I love eggs, but 12 eggs, man.
Yes, I love eggs, but that's it. So going back to niacin, and Dennis wants to know, why do we have flushing when we take niacin?
Well, isn't that an interesting question? Niacin causes a flush, and it can be very disconcerting. A couple things happen. First of all, if you take your ultimate EFAs, you won't get the niacin flush. The ultimate EFAs control the niacin flush. So that's number one. It may take a little bit of time. You have to load up with the EFAs before that happens, before you don't get the flush. But the EFAs will counteract the flush. That's first of all. Second of all, when you start getting enough niacin in your blood, the flush goes away. So it only happens when you first start taking the niacin. And it's because your body is rapidly absorbing the niacin. Over time, that'll start to go away. However, the niacin, and also thirdly, the niacin flush is what vasodilation feels like. Vasodilation is blood vessels opening. When blood vessels open, lots of blood comes through. That's the flush. The flush is actually a sign that it's working. It's vasodilation. It's opening up of blood vessels, which is why niacin is so effective for lowering blood pressure. However, that being, and also for cholesterol, niacin is one of the great cholesterol lowering supplements, by the way, because of its ability to work to affect the circulatory system, the blood vessel system. However, the flush can be very disconcerting. It's not, I've gotten more than one call about the niacin flush. I was making, for when I had in my pharmacy, I was making powdered B vitamins, and almost probably once every couple of weeks, somebody would call up and say, "Al, what's happening to me? What's happening to me?" Because that flush can be very disconcerting. So, number one, EFAs will take care of it. Number two, over time, they'll take care of it. Number two, your body will get used to it. And number three, the flush isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it can be very disconcerting. So what you want to do if you have a problem with the flush is do small doses, do it with food, make sure you're using your EFAs, and ride it out because it'll go away over time. And the flush is not deadly or anything. It just feels weird for 20 minutes. You know, you think it's uncomfortable, but it's not going to kill you or anything. And then if worse comes to worse, use niacinamide, which is no flush niacin. I like niacin a little bit better because you want the circulatory effects, and it's the niacin that's going to give you the really good cholesterol lowering and circulatory benefits. But if you really, really can't handle it, use niacinamide, which is no flush. And also there's another form of niacin, which is a little expensive, called inositol hexanicotinoate.
Yeah, I'm not even going to try to say that one.
Inositol hexanicotinoate.
I'll have to practice that one. So you said something very interesting, that you get the niacin flush when you don't have enough niacin in the body.
Yeah.
Which kind of explains why when I take just one of the niacin plus, I get flushed. But if I take two, I don't.
No, it's not like that. It's not like that. It's like if you don't have enough niacin in your body will absorb it quickly. So you're saying if you take two, you say you flush if you take one, but you don't, not if you take two?
Yeah. I thought that was just too weird. Maybe I'm just weird. So
That
when
is
I'm
kind of
cold,
weird.
I only take one because then I heat up my whole body.
It's very
And I'm
interesting.
not
You don't like the
cold.
flush. Yeah, the flush is weird. Doesn't the flush go away though? Aren't you getting used to the flush?
It does after about
Usually,
20 minutes.
no, I mean, doesn't it, as you take the niacin over the course of the days and weeks and months, don't you notice you flush
yeah.
less?
Now I have
It's typically when you first start a program. It's typically when you first start. That's when you get the flush.
So yeah, it's amazing what the body does when you put different things in the body. So we have
Right.
Jane with her hand up. Jane, go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, Jane.
Hi, I'm from Princeton, New Jersey, and you've forgotten one part of the orthomolecular. That's Dr. Carl Pfeiffer.
Oh, I forgot about Dr. Pfeiffer. Yes, Dr.
Brain
Pfeiffer.
Biocenter, and I'm old enough that I had a miscarriage, and what had happened was our well was too shallow, and it was corroding our water pipe. So I had what we ultimately found out, we had excess copper, which made me zinc deficient.
And Dr. Pfeiffer was big on zinc. He was the zinc guy.
Zinc
Dr.
and B6. And now nobody's studying schizophrenia. He was. He's
Yeah,
gone.
that's right.
Terrible.
Did
Now,
you know him? Did you know Dr. Pfeiffer?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, wow, that's
I
amazing.
went to the Brain Bio, and that's where I first got all my vitamins. I certainly met Dr. Hoffer. He was writing. We had I forgot, we had an organization for halfway house for schizophrenias, and he was working with them. But the thing of it is, Dr. Pfeiffer also looked at histamine, high and low. Most people were low histamine. They needed niacin, B12, folic acid. My husband tested high histamine. He's full of allergies, and much better now. He can't handle the niacin. If you get him anywhere near niacin, folic acid, his toes go wonky as if he had gout.
Yeah, because it's partially histamine is involved in that vasodilation. So if he was already had excess histamine, he may have a problem. So he might want to use the niacinamide. But also you can use like vitamin C as a natural antihistamine. So if he gets enough high doses of vitamin C, that might help him with the histamine. Histamine, there are some people who are high producers of histamine, but I'm not convinced that that's not metabolic. There's not something that they could do in terms of their metabolism or their diet or their supplements that will control their histamine. Doesn't seem to me like excess amounts of histamine are evolutionarily viable. In other words, the body wouldn't do that unless there was something disrupted. So I do know about high levels of histamine can be a problem, and I could see why that would be a problem in niacin. So you'd have to do the niacinamide, but the no flush niacin. But he might also want to try vitamin C, high doses of vitamin C for the histamine.
And some time ago, I sent you a picture. You never received it, but I had a huge white growth in my mouth. But I
do remember that.
But simultaneously, I had all these red spots. So from those days back in the 70s, I knew that was a vitamin C deficiency. So
Very good.
With something like well over 10 grams of C, and that growth has diminished. I mean,
That's
it's
awesome.
Not
it will go away. You keep that up.
it,
Yes, vitamin C is amazing. Absolutely amazing stuff. It's, I always tell people there's vitamins and then there's vitamin C. It's like there's baseball players and there's Babe Ruth. Vitamin C is the Babe Ruth of vitamins. That's like head and shoulders above everything else. As important as, obviously they all are, but vitamin C is amazing stuff and completely non-toxic.
The unfortunate part is I have had to go to the hospital a fair amount. I've had one thing after another diagnosed, but the point of it is that every visit we ask all the doctors and nurses if they've ever heard of Dr. Linus Pauling.
Oh yeah, right. They never heard of him? They never heard of him. Oh, that's great.
Maybe 20%. They have no idea that he has any. Isn't that terrible?
Yeah. So did you say you live in Princeton?
Yes, yes.
So, I used to hang out in Princeton when I was a little kid. We used to ride our bikes on Nassau Street. And
Oh,
the best bookstore in the world is on Nassau Street.
well, maybe used to be.
What's that? It's not there anymore?
It's changed. Everything's changed.
No, there's this bookstore on Nassau Street. I forgot the name of it. That is absolutely amazing. And every time I pay a visit to Princeton, Princeton's beautiful. I love Princeton.
Yeah.
That's good. Nice to meet you. What's your name, Judy?
Jane
Oh, Jane. Jane. Nice to see you, Jane. I'm glad you joined. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jane.
All right. Hey, Rebecca, my dear.
Yes, we had one more hand up. Coach
Did we?
Rod, did you have a question?
Yes, real quickly. How you doing, Pharmacist Ben?
Coach Rod, what's up, Coach Rod? How you doing, man?
I'm good, thank you. I had a visitor on tonight, and she wanted to know, because you mentioned intermittent fasting. So do you recommend like total fasting for a couple of days, or intermittent fasting on longer periods?
The less you eat, the longer you live. So you figure, if you can get past the mental part of fasting, then taking 2 or 3 days off is awesome. Not everybody can do that. I have a hard time doing that. So then intermittent fasting, intermittent fasting, either 1 day a month or between meals. Like I said, stop eating at 5 in the afternoon and then start eating again at 10. That whole period will be a period of fasting for your body. You'll get a chance to clean itself out, give your digestive system a rest, whatever you can do. The less you eat, the longer you live.
Okay.
And the less frequently you eat also, not only the less calories, but the less frequently you eat. Where are you from, Coach Rod? Where do you live?
Well, I'm in Texas now. I'm in the Grand Prairie area.
Grand Prairie. All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you. I think I've talked to you before.
Yes,
Talked to
we
you
have.
before. Yeah, I
Yes,
remember.
we have. Yeah,
Good to
likewise.
see you.
Good to
Thank
see
you, Coach Rod.
All
All
right.
right.
Thank
This is Rebecca.
Pharmacist Ben, this is a fantastic, amazing call. We covered so much, but it was easy to understand.
That's the key. You don't have to be a fancy schmancy doctor or scientist or, have a master's degree or a PhD. It's just logic. It's just plumbing.
Just plumbing. And you started out talking about, they mechanically created the digestive system that took up a whole room.
Yeah.
Yet we have it all within this 2
Yeah.
feet.
Yes. And it's intelligent and it heals itself and it adjusts. It's amazing. The whole body's amazing. All right. So next month. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Thank you, everybody. God bless you all. Talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, Ben. Folks, I hope you were taking notes. And if you were not taking notes, you can go to dailywithdoc.com and you will find this recording there next week. Or if you want it sooner, YouTube Critical Health News channel. Make sure you are following us. Also, if you prefer Rumble, Critical Health News channel. Again, subscribe. Make sure that you share this with somebody else. Can you think of all the people that have been told that they have an autoimmune condition? How empowering was today's show? I can think of a lot more than a dozen people. I can think of probably 1,000 people that I have talked to with digestive issues. And folks, sharing this program, this is going to be the one that I share the most, I think, because of all of the impactful information that is included in this and what we can do for ourselves when it comes to our health, our digestion, our absorption, and how nutrients operate within the body, especially when it comes to those digestive aids. So I just thank you all for joining us here tonight. Now, there was a couple more questions. What about beta glucan? It does help support the immune system, but that would be a very good question to get an answer for. So, Coach Rod, if you could private message me that one off of YouTube, I'll make sure that we get an answer from that. And thank you, everybody, for joining us here. Adam, thank you. I know you had a couple questions out on YouTube that we didn't get to. So again, send me a private message. You can do that through dailywithdoc.com. use that option contact from the menu. Send us in an email and we will get some answers. Again, if you are not connected with a certified holistic health coach or a health coach or somebody that can help you in reaching your goals, and you would like to be, and you've never tried any of the longevity products before, go to dailywithdoc.com, click on contact, submit your question and your request, reach out to us. Those that reach out are the ones that start feeling the results the most, because folks, we can sit wondering, what can we do? What can we do? What can do we, and take no action. But when you take action, you get results. I just want to do a special shout out. And if you could come on with me, Sherry Browning, helping get everybody into the room so that they can hear this valuable information. And Marilyn, she's got like speedy fingers. I love it. Before, I used to have to like host and then also do the typing and put it in the thing. Well, she makes my job so much easier. So thank you, Marilyn, for all you do and using those skills that you have with typing and spelling and punctuation, all that good stuff. And AJ. So AJ is filling in for Ruth Ellen Sanchez tonight and just doing a fabulous job helping me get everything streamed out to YouTube and Rumble and Facebook and make sure that our audios are good and all that goes with that, and also keeping the communication going out on those platforms. Fantastic. Thank you, AJ, for being available to be able to help with that. We greatly appreciate you. And all of you on YouTube, all of you here in the Zoom, we appreciate you for taking the time and investing it into yourself. And as you're listening, did you think of somebody you could share this with? I know I did. I thought of so many people. Please share this program with them. If you're one of our health coaches or associated with longevity, make sure when you share this that you say, hey, this is some valuable information that I'd like to share with you. Get back with me and let's talk about it. Make sure that they know to get back with you. Because one, you cared enough to share it with them. Two, yes, we do this because we have a heart for others. We want to see others get better. But there is that factor of getting that little thank you check or big thank you check, depending on how much you work the business, that helps you do more of what you want or need to do to help yourself, your family, your community, and then we all working together to help the world. So folks, share and let them know where they can get the more information about what they're hearing about tonight on this program. So if you're watching this program as a replay, go ahead and put a comment down there saying replay. Send us in your questions, and most of all, show us some love. Give us some thumbs up as you're on the different platforms, and don't forget to subscribe. And subscribe to our newsletter. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter. We've got some great stuff coming up that you are not going to want to miss. And I promise, we do not sell your information. Your email, your name is very valuable to us, but not in the sake of something valuable to sell. Valuable because we care about you and we want to make sure that you get the information that you need so that you also can reach your goals in your wellness and also your financial goals. If you have ever thought about becoming a health coach and you would like more information about that as well, the Institute of Holistic Health has put together an amazing program that is much more affordable than some of our competition. And it has a payment plan now also. So find more information about that from the person that shared this program with you. If they did not share this program with you or there's no one to thank, go to coachwithbecca.com and you can get some more information about our coaching program there. So until next time, we will let you know when Pharmacist Ben is able to schedule us in for July, and more great information coming your way. Bye for now.